If you're considering moving to the Houston Heights, then this video is for you. I love the Heights. It's a great place to live. And so I thought I'd make a video going over everything that you need to know before you move here. I'm gonna talk about the different areas within the Heights, show off some of the home styles, talk about the pros and cons of living here, and some things that you need to consider so you don't make a bad decision when you buy here. So if that sounds of interest to you, then definitely stick around.
I can't let you go, baby. I just wanna tell you that. No.
Howdy friend, my name is Paul Holub, your local Ramsey trusted real estate agent here in the Houston area. In this video, I'll be going over all things the Houston Heights, touring homes, different areas to consider, pros and cons, and much, much more. And I'm really excited because the Heights is a great place. It has a neat little Austin flair to it, great Houston food scene, and just tons of energy. So I'm really excited to share it with you today. But first, if you are considering moving to the Houston area, feel free to reach out. I love helping people relocate here to the Houston area and matching them up with an area that fits their lifestyle and budget. So feel free to call or text me on the number on the screen. And first, let's dive right into the map so you can see where it sits in the Houston area. All right, so this is Houston. The 610 loop runs right here. This is our inner loop, or what we call the loop. And then downtown Houston is right here. The Heights is just northwest of downtown. Again, it's called the Heights because it's 33 feet higher than downtown Houston. So that is very high in the Houston area. So if you're from a mountainous or an elevated region, that's probably quite funny. For the purposes of video, I'm going to say that the Heights is, the 610 loop as a boundary, I-10 here, and then I-45 here and this whole area is the Heights. And it's not technically the Heights, but for this video, we're going to go over that, and I'll talk about the different areas there. And again, because a lot of people like to live here, one, because it's just so close to downtown, and then also the Galleria is just right here, Upper Kirby or Greenway Plaza, and then if you're in the Med Center, it's just right over here. So Cottage Grove is a little smaller area. There's a lot of townhomes here. Most of them are 3 and 4 story. Now, if you want a little more bang for your buck, definitely check out this area. The problem is most of them don't have much of a yard, and the parking is pretty rough. The next section here is Timber Grove or Lazy Brook. Now, many of these homes were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you'll have more of a traditional single-family home on, or a subdivision lot. It kind of has more of a subdivision feel. Again, some of these homes are obviously a little bit older, it'll be a little bit more out of date, but they have been restored many times, and then some of them have been torn down and new homes built because they have a decent-sized lot. So definitely has a different feel to the rest of the Heights. It's a little more kind of suburban to it. And then as you cross over the White Oak Bayou here, or East and West TC Jester, you get into Shady Acres right here. And many of these are townhomes, but you're going to find a whole mix of everything from, townhomes, single-family homes, beautiful new homes, and then some older houses. Right along Shepherd and Durham, right here, you'll see a lot of restaurants, a lot of cool restaurants. Have a new H-E-B, Kroger and so forth, so grocery stores there. And then obviously shopping on the 19th, and there'll be great restaurants and bars throughout. Down here in the Heights, obviously where a lot of the videos filmed was on Heights Boulevard in Yale. So just really kind of cool older homes and some of this historic areas right around here. And then and up here we just have more single family houses. And then North Main definitely has your larger lots, but then they also have gated access. So so definitely check out the different areas within the Heights, because some may fit more what you're looking for. You might want more of the kind of historic feel, maybe something a little bit newer, and so maybe different parts around the historic areas might work for you, or a completely redone historic house. So that's kind of the neat thing, is that it's all just a little bit different. So what is life like here in the Heights? Well, there's just so much to do. Everything is rather walkable. There's lots of bars and restaurants, usually within a block or two from most places. So it's very common to see a lot of people walking around, meeting friends at bars and restaurants, walking their dog. It's very pet friendly. And so that's really a great plus. Now there are a lot of young professionals here, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people will graduate from college, they'll move here in the Heights. That's where all their friends are, and I've actually had multiple clients, buy homes outside of the Heights, and within a year or two, they're like, let's move into the Heights where all their friends are, because that's where they spend all their time anyway. So that kind of gives a little idea of what it's like here. Variety of different style of houses here. I love the 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom and 1-bathroom style bungalows. They have a lot of charm to it. A lot of these were built in the 40s and 50s. So you see a lot of those craftsman style architecture and features. So I really love that. They are obviously going to be older, but what a lot of people have done, as you see behind me, they've taken that little 2 and 3 1-bedroom home and they've added on to it. Now, if you're in a historic district, you're going to need to keep that charm. You have to work to make sure that you meet their guidelines as far as that goes. But elsewhere, it's a little bit easier for people to build. So you'll see a lot of 2, 3, and 4-story townhomes. And so if you want something a little bit newer, more space, but a smaller yard, if a yard at any, then maybe the townhome might be something for you to consider. Now, there are also some other beautiful historic homes. You'll see a couple of Victorian homes built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Some of these have been converted to studios or for commercial space. But then also you'll see beautiful homes where people have taken it down to raw land and just built their beautiful house on there. And I like to see that a lot of houses have continued the style, that craftsman style home with their new house. There's so much to do here in the Heights. Right now I'm on 19th Street and there's a lot of cool independent boutiques that a lot of people enjoy shopping with. They have various events throughout the year in the Heights, particularly White Linen Nights in August, where it's basically a large block party. You bring coolers and hang out, meet your neighbor. And then also in Christmas they have Lights in the Heights. Throughout the year they'll do different festivals, the Gumbo Festival, this festival or that. And then also they have live music throughout. So you can always catch some live music at a local bar or restaurant. And so we like to have date night and just, enjoy some live music. That's some of our favorite things to do. And speaking of favorite things to do, we love checking out breweries. Eureka Heights and New Magnolia are the 2 breweries here. And my favorite's Eureka Heights in the Heights here. And so I highly recommend it. Great place to hang out. And again, just so much to do here. Let's talk about the schools in the Heights. So the Heights is in Houston Independent School District, and there are some highly rated schools here. So you'll have Travis Elementary or Harvard Elementary, just to name a few. In addition to that, Houston has, a lot of magnet schools. So if you don't like the school you're zoned to, you can apply to go to a different school, as well as the various magnet schools they have. Now, if that doesn't work out for you, there are a lot of private and parochial schools around that are highly rated. Definitely check those out. I have a link to greatschools.com as well as har.com, so you can see just a list of all the different schools here. Now, what tends to happen from my experience, again, because there's so many young professionals here, they tend to, live here right after college, start their family, and as their kids get a little bit older, about school age, they'll send them to elementary, but eventually they tend to move out to the suburbs, buy a bigger house, get a yard, as well as be zoned to some highly rated schools out in the suburbs. So that may not be for you, but that's pretty common for a lot of young professionals here. So that's it for schools in the Heights. Let's jump back to my computer so we can go over the flood maps to see what are the flooding areas here in the Heights. So as you can see on my screen here, there's a lot going on. X means it's out of any floodplain or flood zone. The purple area means that you're in a 100-year floodplain. And then obviously the dark purple means you're in 100-year floodway. So that's where, that's basically where the bayou is. So not too many people live right in that floodway. But then you will see the 500-year floodplain. These are the yellow areas. So the 500-year floodplain basically means that every 500 years, this area may flood, one time. And obviously the 100-year floodplain, every 100 years, we'll have a once in a 100-year event where a house here may flood. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb. For the most part, again, there are areas here that are very elevated compared to the rest of Houston, but obviously right along the bayous is where you're going to have the biggest issue. I definitely know that Shady Acres got hit pretty hard during Harvey in 2017. There are some areas down here that definitely did flood as well, and right along North Main. So definitely check out the flood maps before you buy any home in the Houston area. Always get flood insurance, and then also see that from the self-disclosure, whatever home you buy, if it flooded previously, and what the history was, and particularly if it flooded during Harvey in 2017, as well as any of the other various floods we had in 2000s and 2010s.
Let's talk about some of the challenges of living in the Heights. So I did a full pros and cons list, full video. You can check that out in the card above. But let me go over a couple really important ones that you have to know. One of the big challenges of moving here, and actually all of inside the 610 loop, is that parking is really rough. I mean, there's not a lot of places to park in some areas, and many people select the home that they do depending on if there's parking around or not. Because I mean, what's the good of having a great house if you can't have friends and family over to enjoy it? The second thing you need to know is that there's a lot of open drainage within the Heights. So a lot of times you'll have a 2-lane road and like a steep embankment to drainage areas. And that really limits the amount of parking you can have, because many times you can't park right along the road there. So it may not be for everybody. It's not throughout the Heights, but it's definitely a good portion of it. Last thing you need to know before you move here is that there's going to be some beautiful houses right next to some not so nice houses. And that's really just inner city living here in Houston in general. So, good to know. Let's grab some coffee. In case you can't tell, the Heights is pretty great, but it may not be the area for you. So feel free to watch some of my other videos where I document the different areas around Houston, as well as reach out. Be happy to help you with your move here. With that, all the best to you.